Okay, we're back. We have been moving through this story of David for quite some time, and we are going to finish it eventually. I do want to start a new sermon series for the summer. So we've probably got 4 or 5 weeks left of the David series, which means we're going to have to cover some ground, and we're going to have to hear some more about what happened in David's life. And there's something about the story of David and about the Bible and about God in general, and that is that he's the same. He's the same yesterday, he's the same today, he's the same forever. And so you might find that things in the Bible keep popping up over and over and over again. The easiest one would be the number 3. How many times can you go through and find the number 3 in the Bible? Father, Son, Holy Spirit. How long was Jesus dead? 3 days. How about Jonah and the whale? 3 days. You know, every 3. Another one would be 40. Noah's Ark, 40 days. Jesus goes to the wilderness. How long is he in the wilderness? 40 days. We see a lot of 40 in the Bible. The third most famous one that we all love is 7. You know, a lot of 7 trumpets on 7 horns with 7 signs on 7 seals. And we've got 7. It appears in the Old Testament, it appears in the New Testament, it appears everywhere. Now, I do want to say something real quickly. If you were brought up in an older time, I was brought up Quaker, which is an ultra-conservative denomination of the church, and we had these rules. For instance, no dancing. Okay, Quaker, no dancing. You do not dance. That's somehow something like having sex or something. No dancing. Today, I think they would probably back off on that. The other thing I was told is you are not allowed at any point, in any time ever, to use cards. Right? Cards are from the devil. Right? That's what I was told. They're only used for one thing: gambling. I disagree, because I could build a house out of cards. I can do all sorts of things with cards. So if you grew up in that time, and if you feel that cards are in some way terrible, I apologize in advance. I'm going to use some cards this morning and do one of my Daniel things. I will not be using them for evil. We will not be using them to gamble. So I hope and I trust and I pray that you will not be too terribly offended by it. But I want to show you something about the Bible and how things keep coming up, because you may, as I give this sermon this morning, you may say, heard this before. You've said this before. You've said it. Of course I have. Because the Bible keeps saying the same thing over and over again in different ways with different examples. And so I thought I would just kind of show you how that works real quick. So I need a volunteer from the audience. And Mary, would you be able to help me for a second? Okay. Mary's going to come up here and help me. Did we talk about this before, church? Did you know I was going to pull you up here? No, she did not. I just want you to know we didn't plan this. This is not a trick question. So the first thing you can do is just, you can take the cards, look at them, make sure it's not a trick deck. Okay, so she's just gonna, you can show them to everybody. Nothing special about this deck. Okay, so just so you understand that there's not, it's not like they're all the same card or anything, right? We have all the cards in the world, nothing special about it. So what I want to do, Mary, if that's okay with you, is I'm going to give you this top card, and you can just take that top card, and don't show it to me, but go ahead and show it to everybody else, just so everybody's on the same page about what that card is. Say, everybody see the card? Everybody understand what the card is? Yes? I can't hear you. Yeah? Yes. Got it. Okay, we got the card. Now, go ahead and put the card back on top of the deck here. I don't want to see it, so I'm just going to, and what I'll do just right away is I'm just going to cut the deck. Ooh. Just cut the deck. Make sure, I'll do it again just because I slipped up that time. Cut it. Yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm doing anything here. Cut it again. We can shuffle it real quick just to be sure, right? And so all I know is that card is in here somewhere, right? But this is definitely not it, right? That's weird.
I saw what you did.
You saw what I did. Let me slow it down for you.
When you cut them, you took that first card and put it on top.
You think so? Here.
Yeah, I saw what you did.
I'll slow it down so you know I'm not doing that. Here's the cards. Here's the cards. Okay, so now you're sure I didn't do it that time, right? So that's definitely not the card. Now usually I'll usually get accused that they're all the ace of spades, right? But they're not. There's nothing special about what I'm doing. If you want to know how I did that later, I can show you. But God is like the ace of spades, okay? God is just going to keep popping this stuff back into your face. It keeps coming to the top. No matter what you do, no matter how many times I shuffle and cut and whatever, it keeps rising to the top, whatever God's message is. And God had a very specific message, has a very specific message, is all about something, which I think the easiest word we would use is love. God is love. We can say that all the time with ultimate confidence. God is love. And his love is poured out in various ways. Could be blessings. As humans, we like to think his love is poured out in our financial goodness, or a good marriage, or something like that, when really his love is poured out so much more importantly, in so much a better way, by the way he treats us, and by the way he lets us continue to mess with him and do things that are terrible, and he keeps letting you come back, right? He keeps letting, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we do, nothing can separate me from the love of Jesus Christ, right? And so what we're going to see here is David. Now, if you remember last week, David was playing the lyre. Saul was having a hard time, and it said a spirit came upon Saul forcefully. And we kind of likened that to maybe a demon possession or something like that. It says that Saul was prophesying in the temple, and that David was playing the lyre, and Saul had a spear, and he says, I'm going to pin him to the wall, which is a pretty serious thing he's going to do. So he throws that spear. David evades him, but he didn't evade him just once. He evaded him twice, right? So he stayed there even though he was being attacked and continued to play the lyre. Now, that was all in chapter 18 of 1 Samuel. Today we're going to jump. We're going to jump all the way to chapter 24. In those chapters in between, I'll tell you what happens. David continues to kill it, right? He's awesome. He's loving God. Saul continues to get jealous. He continues to have a problem in his life. He doesn't like David. He's threatened by David. He knows of only one way to take care of the David situation. Kill him. We've got to kill David. And Saul set out to go find David. David's got some of his buddies with him. Okay, he's got a little menagerie of people, and they are evading Saul. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to get through two different chapters here this morning. We're going to go through chapter 24, and then we're going to do chapter 26. Okay, and in 25, I'll tell you what happened in between there. But 24 and 26, what you're going to find is it's the same story. Okay, it's the same story twice. Why repeat it? Why have it happen twice? Because it's that important. It's the ace of spades. It's always going to come to the top. All right. Title of this one, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. In other words, David's saying, you can keep coming at me. I'm not going to stop serving the Lord. Right? And this extends to us. And as we walk through it, I think you'll see. So David, his buddies, they're hiding. And Anna and I have been to Israel. And as you're driving through Israel, there's lots of cliff sides, lots of rocks and stuff. And in those rocks will be these holes. And if you know about like the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, they were found by a guy who was herding sheep, and he had lost his sheep, and so he went looking in one of the caves for his sheep, and instead he found a bunch of old pots and clay pots and everything. There's all these holes in the mountainside, if you can kind of put your mind's eye around that, all these holes. And so David is just basically moving from cave to cave, trying to evade Saul, as Saul and his armies are chasing after David with one intent in mind, only one. They're not going to arrest him. They're not going to talk nicely with him or have dinner with him. They are there to end him. And so David knows this, and he is trying as hard as he can to get away from Saul. So we're going to go to this didn't work. We're going to go to chapter 24 here, 1 Samuel chapter 24, and it says, after Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, David is in this desert of En-Gedi. Okay, we know where he is. Okay? So Saul took 3,000 able young men from all Israel and set out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. Okay, the crags of the goats, think about cliff sides, think about goats climbing on cliff sides. We're going to go searching for David. We know where he is, we've got intel, and we're not taking me and my 10 best. We're getting 3,000 people to go after David, which kind of is a compliment to David, right? He must be a pretty good warrior. You need 3,000 people to kill him, but 3,000 people. So he came to the sheep pens along the way, and a cave was there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. We read through this really quickly. If you didn't understand what I just said, he's using the bathroom. Okay, that's what it is. He's using the bathroom. They don't want to tell you that in Sunday school class. That's what he's doing. He's using the bathroom. David and his men were far back in the cave. He had gone into the very cave that David was hiding. You guys know this story already? You guys know what's going to happen next? Okay. He's using the bathroom in there. And the men said, this is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Pause. What did his friends want David to do? Kill him. Right? This is it. This is the enemy delivered into your hands. Go take his life. When we walk through life as Christians, we may get the opportunity to hit somebody with our best shot. We may get the opportunity to blow somebody out of the water, make them look the fool, make them be embarrassed, have all the firepower in the world, and not just that, have our friends telling us, Man, print that out and show somebody, right? You got it in your phone. Take a picture, right? And show somebody what they're doing. There was a guy recently, and you guys may know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to tell you. There's a guy recently who was really against pornography here in Austin. Really against it, which I have no problem with. But he was so against it that he would drive to the porn shops. If you go up to 35, you'll see there's 7-Eleven over there. He'd go to the porn shop with his camera. And he would sit in the parking lot, and when men would drive up to this porn shop, he would hop out of his car and he would take their picture. And he'd say, I'm going to go put this on the internet, and I'm going to call your wife, and I'm going to let everybody, I'm going to tell your boss, I'm going to let everybody know that you are visiting the porn shop. It's an interesting way to do it, okay? I'm not going to side on either way of it. I will tell you that more than once this man got the snot kicked out of him by people in the parking lot because don't take my picture and threaten me with whatever. But he decided, I have the ammunition to take care of something. I'm going to use it. You know, and I'm sure he had encouragement and all sorts of other things. There are times when you're going to get encouraged to go do something. You have all the power, all the authority, all the ammunition to just destroy somebody. Will you act like your friends want you to act? Or will you act like David acts, who goes in and just takes the very corner of Saul's robe and then retreats? Afterward, David was conscience-stricken. He still felt bad. He didn't even kill the guy, and he felt bad for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay my hand on him, for he is the anointed of the Lord. Is that true? Yeah, Saul was anointed. But then it said that the Spirit left Saul and landed on David, who was anointed. But David's still saying, I'm sorry. God put him on the throne. I am not going to take the crown off his head. Remember, we talked about that last week. He's not here to take the crown off Saul's head. He's trying to do what's right. He doesn't even like that he cut the corner of Saul's robe. And I'm not going to do it. With these words, David sharply rebuked his men and did not allow them to attack Saul. And Saul left the cave and went his way. That's a follower of God who stood up to his friends. First, they were telling him what to do. He didn't do it. He turned around and said, you're not going to do it either. Chill out. Don't act. Okay? There's a big thing in the Facebook world that says, don't press send. Right? So you're really upset with somebody and you want to just tell them off. And so you do this really big text message, right? And that's cool. Do that. Just don't press send. Okay? Because then there's no taking it back. It's the psychiatrist will tell you, write a letter to your mother that you're so angry with, right? Write the letter and then burn it. Do not send the letter, right? But get it out. Don't press send. So anyways, what David's saying is don't do it. I'm not going to do it. We're not about that. So Saul leaves. Then David went out of the cave and called out to Saul, my lord the king. When Saul looked behind him, David bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. He still gave Saul respect. Who is Saul? The king. Is David the king? No. When you meet the king in Israel, what do? You bow down. So David is still showing him respect. He's calling out to him. Let me tell you what he's not doing. He did not walk up and tap Saul on the shoulder and say, hi, how you doing? And then bow. He waited until Saul was far away and then yelled, hey, buddy, hi. And how are you? I'm gonna bow. He said to Saul, why do you listen to when men say, David is bent on harming you? Do you think there's people in Saul's ear then that are telling him, David's going to kill you, David's going to kill you, David's going to kill you? Why do you listen to them? This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lay my hand on my Lord, because he is the Lord's anointed. See my father. Now, why does he call him his father? Because Jonathan, his son, and he are best friends locked in oath, so he calls him his father. Look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off the corner of your robe, but did not kill you. See that there is nothing in my hand to indicate that I am guilty of wrongdoing or rebellion. I have not wronged you, but you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord avenge the wrongs you have done to me. But my hand will not touch you. As the old saying goes, from evildoers come evil deeds, so my hand will not touch you. This speech right here is something everyone needs to swallow as a really big horse pill. Whose job is it to avenge? The Lord. Whose job is it to convict of sin? God's. What do we spend a lot of time doing? Taking our vengeance out on people, convicting of sin. telling people what they're doing wrong, telling them how stupid they are, embarrassing them. And David says, as the old saying goes, from evildoers come evil deeds. If I start acting evil, then my deeds will be evil. Another way to say it is, don't lower yourself to their level, right? Yes, they're terrible. That doesn't mean you need to be terrible. Take the high road, whatever word you guys want to think about on this. David said, it's not up to me to deal with you. Let God deal with that. I'll serve him. And if I'm serving him, I can do no evil. And you can see I'm not hurting you. You can see I have no intention of hurting you. Deal with it how you will. But I'm not going to be the one that takes your life. Against who has the king of Israel come out? Who are you pursuing? A dead dog? A flea? May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. May he consider my cause and uphold it. May he vindicate me by delivering me from your hand. Now you guys think that's a weird way to say something. What he's saying is, you're not chasing just somebody. You're not chasing a flea or a dog or your best friend's sister's cousin's boyfriend's uncle. You're chasing me. Your son, your son's best friend, if nothing else. Your friend, somebody you know, who I've done battles for you. We're close. Who did you come out against with these 3,000 men? Who did you come to get? You came to get me. That's messed up, bro. That's what he's saying. Now, verse 15. May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. Once again, I'm not going to be the one that does this. He's exercising control, restraint, self-control. I'm not going to do this. It's tempting. You don't think it was tempting when he walked up there and Saul's relieving himself? He has a knife in his hand. I could end this right now. But he didn't. I know that there are times in your life where you have the knife in your hand, where you know you could do it, and it's tempting. How hard is it to say, you know what? The Lord will deal with this. Not my job. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Right? Don't need to get involved here. When David finished saying this, Saul asked, is that your voice, David, my son? See, hear a change of tone in Saul here? And he wept aloud. He's crying. You are more righteous than I, he said. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. You have just now told me about the good you did to me. The Lord delivered me into your hands, but you did not kill me. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him get away unharmed? May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. In other words, you're not my enemy. I can see it now. Realization, light bulb goes off in Saul's mind. Why am I chasing this guy? Why am I chasing this guy? He has no ill will against me. I know that you will surely be king. This is Saul still. I know that you're going to be the king. And that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. Swear to me by the Lord that you will not kill off my descendants or wipe out my name from my father's family. So David gave his oath to Saul, and Saul returned home, and David and his men went up to the stronghold. So Saul realizes, I've made a mistake. I'm wrong, you're right. I know that you're going to be king when I'm gone. Okay, I get it. Do me a solid. Don't kill my family for what I've done wrong. And so David swears an oath. I won't. I'm not going to take your family and punish them for what you're doing wrong. Saul is admitting fault. Maybe a better word would be repent. What does repent mean? You're going one way, turn around, go the other way. Saul was on his way to kill David. David shows him something. Saul goes, that's my bad. That's my bad. I'm going home. He repents. He turns around. David lets him go. This is our first example of David forgiving Saul. And Saul didn't just steal his lunch money. Saul was going to kill him. 3,000 men to kill him. And somehow, not only did David exercise self-control and not attack when he had every ability to do so, then he forgave him. The Ace of Spades, the thing that keeps popping up in the Bible, like 3s, 7s, and 40s, is to forgive. We are to forgive, for Christ first forgave us. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. It just keeps popping up. I keep shuffling the deck, and I keep coming up with the Ace of Spades. Forgiveness. Here's David, all the way in the Old Testament. Forgiveness. Now let me tell you what forgiveness is not. It's not permission. Okay? He did not say, feel free to come after me as often as you'd like. No. What he said was, you're screwing up. You are messing up, Saul. But I'm not the one who's going to be the one that takes care of this. God is. So I will stand here, you stand there. Okay, I've told you before that there was a man that did some very terrible things to my sister when she was young. I hated him for a long time. I came to a point where I forgave him. Okay, I have forgiven him. I don't carry that around with me anymore. But I'm not going to let him babysit my kids. Okay? So I can forgive him, but it doesn't mean I have to go the rest of the way. David called out to Saul, but he did it from a protected area. Right? He didn't walk into Saul's camp and say, I've got the cloaks, aren't I good? No, he did it from a distance. So there's a difference between forgiveness and permission. Okay, and just opening yourself up to just continually being beat up and whatever. But it doesn't mean it's your responsibility to keep the person from doing it again. So if I saw him walking down the road, it's not my job to go kick his butt. Right? How dare you? I know you're thinking about it. Not my job to do that. It's God's job to convict of sin. Or Deb can do it. Right. I heard you, Deb. She said that's my job. Not our job to convict of sin. Not our God to strike the Lord's vengeance. David had self-control. He had the ability. And he was able to forgive Saul. Great story. I'm sure the rest of their lives they went about their business and they never had another quarrel again. Right? Wrong. This was all of chapter 24. We're going to jump to chapter 26. In the middle, we've got David spending some time with some other people. Saul continuing to be tormented by his advisors and everybody else. David's going to kill you. David's going to kill you. David's going to kill you. So guess what Saul's going to do? He's going to make his move on David once again. Chapter 26. So Saul went down to the desert of Ziph with his 3,000 select Israelite troops. Same number he had last time. I mean, did he even make it home before he turned around and went after David again? I mean, it doesn't look like the 3,000 did, but he's after him again to search there for David. Saul made his camp beside the road on the hill of Hakilah, facing Jeshimon. But David stayed in the wilderness. When he saw that Saul had followed him there, he sent out scouts and learned that Saul had definitely arrived. So David sends out a couple scouts to make sure, is Saul there? Is Saul there? Yes, he is. Okay. So David sent out the scouts, make sure David set out and went to the place where Saul had camped. He saw where Saul and Abner, son of Ner, he's the commander of the army, had laid down. Saul was lying inside the camp with the army encamped around him. That makes sense, right? The king's going to be in the middle, all the soldiers camped around him. He's all the way on the inside. Okay, so David can see that. So David asks Ahimelech the Hittite and Abishai, son of Zeruiah. You gotta love all these names, right? What do I say about names? Why do they give people's names? Because they're real people in a real place. It's a real story. This is helping you verify that. Okay. Who will go down to the camp with me to Saul? Right, who wants to go down and talk to Saul? Anybody, any volunteers? I'll go with you, says Abishai. So David and Abishai went to the army by night. And there was Saul, lying asleep inside the camp, with his spear stuck in the ground near his head. Abner and the soldiers were lying around him. So just kind of think of a movie or something, or like ninja style. They got the black paint on their face, right? And they're sneaking to the camp, and they make it all the way into Saul's tent. And here's Saul, right? Spear right there. Saul is laying here. Abishai said to David, "Today, God has delivered your enemy into your hands." Sound familiar? Isn't that what his friend said last time? Hey, your enemy's right here. What do you think he wants to do? Now let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of my spear. I won't strike him twice. This is like classic trash talk, right? Like, let me hit him with the spear. Trust me, there'll only be two sounds: me hitting him and him hitting the floor, right? It's this constant, big man pride, whatever. It is not the Spirit of God. This is not God telling him to say this, is it? David has to, once again, exercise self-control and say, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my job. Okay? I won't strike him twice. But David said to Abishai, don't destroy him. Not a period after that word, exclamation point. Don't. No. Who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? As surely as the Lord lives, he said, the Lord himself will strike him. Or his time will come and he will die. Or he'll go into battle and perish. But the Lord forbid that I should lay a hand on the Lord's anointed. Now get the spear and the water jug that are near his head, and let's go. Same thing he had to do last time, right? Not only does he have to exercise his own self-control. No, don't do it, don't do it. He then has to rebuke his friend. No. And what does he say to his friend? Not my job. The Lord will take care of it. If it's that bad, the Lord will strike him with lightning. Okay? Or he'll die of old age. Or he'll go into battle and die. Not my job to kill him. Not your job to take out your enemy. Not your job to strike out of vengeance or revenge or anything else. Stay focused on what God has called you to do. And stay out of other people's junk. God will settle the score. What did David just say to Goliath a couple weeks ago? He said, today you're going to be fed to the birds of the air because the battle belongs to the Lord. Not me. So hard to do that, guys. So hard as Christians to not take the next step. Even harder to rebuke your friends. Hey, no, not going to do that. Not going to attack. I don't care. Delete the photo. Don't want it. So David took the spear and the water jug that was near Saul's head, and they left. No one saw or knew about it, nor did anyone wake up. They were all sleeping because the Lord had put them into a deep sleep. Well, that's cheating, God. I would like the story better when he was being really quiet. But hey, he made it in. All the way in, 3,000 men, all the way into the center. Took his spear, took his water jug, out. Then David crossed over to the other side. Once again, David does not stay in camp to have this next little conversation. Okay? He crosses over to the other side and stood on the other side of the hill, and some distance away, there was a wide space between them. Not going to give him permission to kill him, right? We're going to set up again. He called out to the army and to Abner, "Aren't you going to answer me, Abner?" And Abner replied, "Who are you who calls to the king?" David said, "You're a man, aren't you? And who is like you in Israel? Why didn't you guard your lord the king?" So he's trying to let Abner know, you missed something, man, and you still haven't figured out what it is. You haven't figured out what I did yet. Aren't you supposed to guard him? What you have done is not good. As surely as the Lord lives, you and your men must die because you did not guard your master, the Lord's anointed. Look around you. Where are the king's spear and water jug that were near his head? See how this whole thing's a setup, right? Like, aren't you supposed to be protecting him? Aren't you the guy that protects the king? And Abner's like, yeah, what? Where's his spear? Where's his water jug? Uh-oh, I think we got red faces going on here with Abner and his buddies. Uh-oh. Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is that your voice, David, my son?" Always got to do this my son thing. Got to play that card, right? Got to keep pulling the strings, whatever. David replied, "Yes, it is, my lord the king." And he added, "Why is my lord pursuing his servant? What have I done, and what wrong am I guilty of? Now let my lord the king listen to his servant's words. If the Lord has incited you against me, then may he accept an offering. If, however, people have done it, may they be cursed before the Lord. They have driven me today from my share in the Lord's inheritance, and have said, 'Go, serve other gods.' And do not let my blood fall to the ground far from the presence of the Lord. The king of Israel has come out to look for a flea, as one hunts for a partridge in the mountains." This is very poetic, as David's talking right here. What he's saying is, you won't even let me stay in Israel. I live in Israel. I've served Israel. And you want me to go somewhere where they worship other gods, and you want me to get killed, and my blood will be spilled some other place? You're taking away my heart, man. This is where I live. This is what I do. This is my family. And you're driving me out. What did I do to you? You're hunting for me like a dog, like a flea, like a partridge. How many times does he give these examples of how you're hunting me like I'm not your friend? You call me your son, and then you hunt me. For what? Didn't do anything. Right? Didn't do anything. Then Saul said, ready? "I have sinned. I have sinned." Repent. You know? "Come back, David, my son. Because you considered my life precious today, I will not try to harm you again." Yeah, right. "Surely I have acted like a fool and have been terribly wrong." "Here is the king's spear," David answered. "Let one of your men come over and get it." Now look back at what Saul said to him. "I have sinned. Come back. Come back. Come over here. You're all the way over there. Come on over here." Right. Not permission. Okay? Come on back. Bring my spear, my water jar. Come on, let's have dinner. Let's hang out. Right? That's what he's saying by come back. Come back, David, my son. I'm not gonna hurt you. Okay? Again, I'm not going to let the guy watch my kids. David's not going over there. Here's the spear, David answered. Let one of your young men come over here and get it. The Lord rewards everyone for their righteousness and faithfulness. The Lord delivered you into my hands today, but I would not lay a hand on the Lord's anointed. As surely as I valued your life today, so may the Lord value my life and deliver me from all trouble. And Saul said to David, may you be blessed, David my son. You will do great things and surely triumph. So David went on his way, and Saul returned home. David never joins back up with Saul. Okay? No, not permission. But what did he just do again? He forgave him. Ace of spades. He forgave him again. This guy is literally trying to kill you with 3,000 men strong, trying to kill him. And he keeps forgiving. Have you been wronged? Heck yeah, you've been wronged. Have you been wronged more than once? Probably. What should you do? Forgive him anyway. There's a guy in the New Testament that I'm just certain was having a problem with one of the other disciples or with somebody he knew. And Jesus kept talking about the ace of spades, kept saying, forgive, 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 forgive. And I'm just sure that this guy was getting frustrated. And so he approaches Jesus. This guy's name? Peter. And Peter walks up to Jesus and he says, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins up against me? 7 times? Let me rephrase this into what I really think happened here. Jesus, do I really have to keep forgiving this guy? He is driving me nuts. How many times? Just give me a number. 7? 7 times? I can stop forgiving him, please, Lord? And of course, Jesus gives him, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Your translation might 7 times, 70 times. The truth is, it means an immeasurable amount. You never stop forgiving your brother. This is in Matthew. The other story is in Samuel. You want me to talk to you about Hosea and his wife? How many times he forgave her? You want me to talk to you? How many stories? Jonah and the whale. Did God forgive him? How many times does forgiveness keep popping up in the scripture? Over and over and over and over again. Why? Because it must be pretty important. When we do theology classes and Bible study classes, we say, if the Bible says something once, listen. If it says twice, pay attention. If it says it 3 or more times, don't forget it. How many times is forgiveness going to show up in the Bible? A lot. Self-control. David's self-control, not to attack Saul. A lot. God is trying to tell us something. He's saying no matter how many times we shuffle the deck, no matter how many times we do it, forgive, forgive, forgive. Do I have to, Lord? Yes! When we don't forgive, when we act in vengeance, when we try to take it on ourselves to take care of what we think God should do, we insult him. We say, God, I don't trust you. I don't think that you know what's going on. I don't think you have any clue how to deal with this person, but I do. I'll take care of him. No. Who tells God that he doesn't know what he's doing? I mean, I do all the time. Every time we step out of God's will, we're saying we know better than God. Very, very proud of ourselves as we walk our own road and we do our own thing. And what it's saying is, God, I don't trust you as much as I trust myself. You got to break that. Use your self-control and exercise forgiveness. Not permission. Don't open yourself up and keep letting them, if you know a guy is a kleptomaniac, stop having him over to your house and quit leaving the piggy bank on the table, right? Or he's just going to keep stealing your stuff. But you forgive him. You forgive him. Because that's what we were charged to do. That's why God forgave us. This is the last thing I'll say about this. What happens next after Jesus says not 7 times, but 77 times? He breaks into one of these things we call a parable. And it's a famous parable about a man who owes a king money. You guys know this story? Owes the king a little bit of money. And the king's going to have him arrested. And the man says, please, please, please don't. And he says, okay, I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to forgive you the $100 you owe me. I'm going to let it go. You're forgiven, go home, do your thing. The man turns around and goes to his neighbor that owes him $10. And the neighbor says, please, 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 I don't have the $10. And the man says, I don't care. Throws the guy in jail. When the king hears of it, he gets very upset with this man. He says, I forgave you 100. And you went and busted this guy up for 10? You either take the forgiveness I give and dole it out the same way, or you deserve nothing. And took all the man's possessions, gave it to the friend that was thrown in jail, and the poorer guy was now richer, and the richer guy was now in jail again. If God offers you forgiveness, who are you to hold it all for yourself and not extend it out to other people? How do people meet Jesus? They meet him through you, through your forgiveness, through your self-control. Even when you could have done this to your coworker, even when you could have done this to your cousin or your sister or the guy driving next to you, you just want to call the cops and be like, erratic driver over here, and get him busted, right? Don't. I mean, if they're endangering people, you might have to call the cops. But what I'm saying is it's not up to you to dole out the Lord's vengeance. It's up to you to exercise self-control, one of the fruits of the Spirit, and to forgive. Unyieldingly, unstoppingly forgive. So that people will understand that Jesus is inside you. That God is upon you, and you're extending his forgiveness to the world. Ace of Spades. Forgiveness. Let it keep coming up in your life the same way it comes up in the Word. And trust me, people will see Jesus through you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for your Word, for your ability to yell at us from thousands of years ago and tell us that we are to forgive just as you forgave us. Help us as we move forward. Let your Spirit just indwell us, Lord. Let this fruit of the Spirit called self-control just mature in our lives. That people who are searching for the answer for Jesus Christ will find him through our self-control, through our forgiveness, through our ability to follow you and your commands. We don't want to take over and say that we know better than you, Lord, for that would be foolish. Instead, we want to say, you are the Lord, you are the Master, you are the King. We will do as you command because it is all in love. Help us to forgive. Father, if there's anybody in here that's holding on to bitterness, holding on to vengeance or revenge or anything else, I would just ask that you would just touch them right here, right now, and help them drop that. It is a heavy burden to carry through life, to carry around vengeance, bitterness, and anger. Let it just fall off of them right here, Lord. Let forgiveness abound, grace abound, and let people find the answer. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who died for us. Be with us as we leave this place, Lord. Let us stay full of your Spirit. Let us stay focused on you. Let us share you with the world out there. We thank you for your presence here this morning. We give you all praise and all glory and all honor. We pray these things in Jesus' name.